Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Driven Wild. Today we are talking about why food delivery feels broken and how timing failures hurt drivers, restaurants, and customers alike. Food delivery issues are usually framed as a problem of late orders. Customers say their food took too long, restaurants feel blamed for the delays, drivers get caught in the middle, and sometimes take some of that blame themselves. But lateness isn't the real issue nor the only issue. The core issue is arrival timing. Drivers are being sent too early or too late based on assumptions that don't reflect what's actually happening in the kitchen. And that mismatch creates a system where drivers lose money, restaurants lose control of their space, and customers experience unpredictable outcomes regardless of their intentions. So in this video, we are talking about why food delivery feels broken or off-timed, how it actually is for drivers, restaurants, and customers alike, and everything in between. But before we do that, let's go over a quick disclaimer. The content of this video does not contain is never intended to be legal, business, financial, tax, or health advice of any kind. This video is for entertainment purposes only. It is advised that you conduct your own research and consult qualified professionals before applying anything you find online. I also want to be clear that everything that we're going to be going over is very market to market and case by case. What applies to me and my market may not apply to you. So with that said, let's get started. A recent orders inspiration. I completed an order recently for a restaurant called Taco Craft for Lauderdale by the Sea. And while I was picking up that order that had 2 items in it, I was feeling the influx of volume you would normally see in December between Christmas and New Year's. More people are coming in for a vacation. Snowbirds are coming down for the warm weather during the winter season, which leads to more people in the seats, less parking spots available, including the to-go spots that stay filled for hours, even though they're 15 minutes only. I'm not venting. Regardless, I arrived and understandably there was somewhere between a solid turnout for people who are in the restaurant and overwhelmed by a number of people in the restaurant. And that doesn't even account for what may or may not be happening in the kitchen at the time. I was trying to be patient and kept hearing the classic almost done, we're packing it up now, and 5 to 10 more minutes phrases that you would normally hear from the people working there. And this is usually the point where many drivers either walk out or stay and tolerate what often feels like being misled, even when that isn't the restaurant's actual intention. I remember voicing that same frustration publicly in the past before, and before I had a clearer view on how much of these outcomes come down to design flaw rather than simply individual behavior, although that is a factor. But in any case, I grew a different relationship and have seen the perspective of all sides, and the manager seemed to have recognized that from me, which led him to ask me about something from a systematic standpoint.
When we say that we need 20 minutes of prep time, drivers sometimes come in 5 minutes and sometimes they come in 25 minutes. What is that about?
And whether that was an honest to God question or him asking that to play innocent is not really the relevant point here, because it was then that it hit me what the problem really is in the gig economy and how drivers show up from a systematic standpoint. This isn't a late order problem, it's an arrival timing problem. So many of these companies are trying to find ways to get more orders done faster and looking to increase the speed of convenience by making orders faster, but that's just simply not the case at all. Most delivery systems dispatch their drivers on static prep times, not real-time kitchen readiness. And in practice, what that looks like is a driver sets a default prep time. The delivery platform assumes that's accurate. A driver is dispatched based on that assumption. Kitchen volume spikes or staffing changes, and the driver arrives on time, but the food isn't ready. And at that point, the system hasn't failed technically, it has failed operational. The driver arrives early and is often framed publicly as the problem, even though the timing wasn't their decision. And the kitchen isn't ready and receives the brunt of the frustration from the driver, and now everyone waits longer than necessary. Drivers lose money on waiting, even on good orders. For drivers, they are not paid for their time. They are paid per completed order. They want orders on and off their apps as quickly as possible because that is how they make money from an operation standpoint. When a driver arrives too early, the wait time is unpaid or underpaid. Another earning opportunity is lost. Long waits increase the frustration and the burnout that the driver may or may not be experiencing, and leading them to cancel to protect their income, and not doing so can trigger penalties. Even well-paying orders can become bad ones if a driver spends 5 to 20 minutes standing in a lobby waiting for food that hasn't even started. That's not impatience, that's basic math. Restaurants lose control of their space. Early arrivals don't just affect drivers, they disrupt the entire front house experience that restaurants have. Restaurants end up with drivers crowding the lobby, drivers mixed in with guests waiting to be seated, staff acting as traffic control instead of hosts, and a perception of chaos when the kitchen is operating correctly. Some restaurants have created additional sections of their restaurants dedicated to to-go orders in general, and sometimes create new levels of frustration. When restaurants choose negligence, and it becomes more apparent for every driver that comes in. Not to mention the innate frustration of you waiting patiently for an order, seeing somebody walk in, pick up their order almost immediately, and walk back out, pretending as if that is normal. None of this improves the service or the quality of the food. It simply adds pressure where it doesn't belong. Unnecessary clarification about tipping. Now, before we go any further, because I know this is going to come up, it needs to be said clearly. This isn't an argument against tipping. It is not a defense for customers who don't value the service being provided. Drivers rely on tips. Restaurants rely on respectful customers, and platforms already know that a small percentage of users will complain regardless of the outcome. That behavior should not be rewarded or accommodated for, regardless of your obviously wrong opinion. The real issue, tipping being used for the wrong purpose. The problem isn't that tipping influences the system. This is a widely understood concept, and yet it is often debated in ways that distract from the actual system design issue. The problem is how it is being used currently. Right now, tipping is treated as a dispatch accelerator, not a compensation signal. That misuse creates two unintended outcomes. Generous tips may cause drivers to be dispatched too early, leading to unpaid wait time, and poor or non-existent tips delay dispatch, causing food to sit or the quality of the food to decline. And while most drivers will advocate for tipping, and are right to in my opinion, neither outcome improves the service in a way that it should be because of this kind of speed bump. And doesn't matter which way you're talking about, it should not be interpreted as guidance on how customers should tip. White platforms should not optimize for bad tippers. This distinction matters more than people give it credit for. Customers who consistently don't tip, leave bad reviews regardless, or devalue the labor that it takes to actually run a system like this are not a segment of delivery platforms that they should be redesigning their systems around. Optimizing dispatch logic to save these orders shifts the risk onto drivers, degrades the food quality, and increases churn. And it rewards the worst incentives of the platforms and systems themselves. That's not fairness or efficiency. That's appeasement to the wrong kind of people. Being busy is not the same as being negligent. Any real fix must be able to distinguish between legitimate capacity limits and process failure or discrimination, because they're not the same thing, but today's systems treat them as if they are. Legitimately being too busy looks like this: high active order volume, staffing or station constraints, predictable rush periods, prep time increasing because capacity is actually maxed. And that's normal, that's honest, that's just the operational reality people are going through. Negligence and discrimination, on the other hand, looks like this: delivery orders repeatedly deprioritized without volume justification, drivers consistently sent early with no corrective adjustment, gig orders ignored while dine-in orders move normally, and patterns that affect delivery orders specifically and not all orders. Because when systems fail to separate these issues, "we're busy" becomes a blanket excuse, and drivers are forced to absorb the consequences. What a fair system should do instead. A well-designed delivery system would do the following. Treat tipping strictly as driver compensation. Base dispatch timing on kitchen readiness and not tip size. Allow for low tip orders to wait without distorting timing for everyone else. Consistency matters more than speed because consistency is what the system learns from. And that approach is going to protect drivers' time, preserve the restaurant flow, maintain the food quality, and does not encourage poor customer behavior. Consistent practices poison the data the system relies on. There's one more layer that explains why food delivery feels so unpredictable over time. Platforms like DoorDash and Uber Eats don't just react in the moment, they learn continuously. And to their credit, they have improved, but those improvements are only as good as the data which they receive. When restaurant timing practices are inconsistent, the data becomes inconsistent too. Why the same food order can be fast one day and terrible the next. And from the outside in, from the perspective of just data ingestion or data intake, this feels random. It's the same restaurant, it's the same order, it's the same distance. One day it's suddenly super smooth and no problems, and the next day there's an additional 45 to 60 minutes for that one burrito that should have just been a super easy delivery. And what's actually happening is data confusion, not randomness. The system is trying to predict the readiness of an order using the history it has received, but the signals they receive are noisy. Some days prep times are super accurate. Some days drivers are sent really early, and some days food sits finished waiting for drivers, and some days kitchens are slammed but don't update their prep times. And some days delivery orders are deprioritized in a very informal way. Those signals distort the restaurant's performance profile that each of these platforms are quietly building for restaurants. How platforms respond when data is messy. When timing data is unreliable, platforms have two bad choices. If they underadjust, drivers arrive early and wait time is unpaid. Or they overadjust and the system pads ETAs excessively just in case. Over time, platforms tend to choose overadjustment because it reduces the complaints of the drivers, even if it kills efficiency. And that's how you end up with orders suddenly taking over an extra hour, conservative dispatch windows, dead time for drivers, or customers losing trust in ETAs altogether. Because the system isn't malicious, it's defensive. Why this becomes a platform-wide problem. When inconsistency persists, algorithms lose confidence in predictions, buffers grow instead of shrink, drivers' utilization drops, restaurants get fewer reliable pickups, and customer experience is unpredictable. And at that point, everyone pays for inconsistency, not just the restaurant causing it. And that's how localized inefficiency becomes a platform level degradation. This is a systems failure, not a people problem. This isn't about lazy kitchens or impatient drivers. This is about how systems like Toast or just the platforms themselves communicate with delivery platforms or don't communicate at all, such as DoorDash and Uber Eats. Prep times today are static, preset, and blind to real-time kitchen volume. Dispatch systems don't ask how busy a kitchen is. They assume based on the history they receive. And when assumptions collide with reality, friction gets pushed downstream onto drivers, front of house staff, and customers. And the fix isn't speed, it's synchronization. The solution isn't cook faster, tip differently. It's smarter timing. Imagine a system where prep times adjust dynamically based on kitchen volume. Drivers are dispatched based on readiness and not guesses. Tips influence pay and not chaotic arrival timing. And that alignment alone would reduce unpaid driver wait time, clear restaurant lobbies, improve the food quality the customer receives, and actually reward good tipping behavior appropriately. And that logic already exists in other logistics systems. Food delivery just simply hasn't adopted it yet. Cleaner timing signals don't just help drivers and restaurants, they improve the platform's own forecasting accuracy over time. Final thoughts. Food delivery feels broken because the system dispatches people, not readiness. Drivers arrive too early or too late. Restaurants absorb the chaos. Customers get inconsistent results regardless of the intent. And this isn't a blame issue, it's a design gap. And until delivery platforms align with kitchen readiness and driver arrival, the same friction will keep landing on the same people, the ones with the least control over the system. Fix the timing, everyone else wins. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, check out my website, drivenwild.com, if you'd like to learn more about some of the services and gig platforms we have talked about in the past and are offering to gig workers today. And if you would like to stay on the cutting edge, what's happening in the gig economy today and be in the know of what most people are talking about, make sure to check out our new channel, the Gone Wild Live Clips and Podcasts, where we take the live streams we hold on Thursdays at 9 p.m., cut them down to more digestible clips, and have them posted there. Also, check out my Patreon for exclusive clips, full-length live stream replays, and other membership perks for self-employed individuals who want to grow and scale their business. Once again, thank you guys so much for watching.
Rise up, shake off that 9 to 5 rut.